A very good day I bid to our lecturer, Dr. Kas, and also to our fellow classmates. So today, my group members and I will be presenting on Discourse and Pragmatics. This group consists of 9 members, including myself, Venash, Yusrizan, Lokman, Adam, Najla, Aula, Fatin, Razik, and Atik. So as you can see here, these are the topics that we will be covering as for discourse. Hi there, I will now be explaining on discourse. Discourse refers to the manner in which language is employed in a social setting to shape understanding, transmit ideas, and convey meaning. It's important for us to understand that discourse enables us to understand how language affects social interactions, opinions, identities, and the construction of reality. Some examples to be mentioned are political speeches shaping opinions, number two, media representation influencing perceptions, or number three, conversational norms guiding communication in different settings.
A verb is a phrase or group of words that describe an action, event, or a state. There are many types of verbs. For example, root verbs, present participle, simple present, past participle, and third person singular present form of a verb. Root verb or actual verbs are verb that is still in its original form. For example, I love watching movies. The root verb for I love watching movies is love. Nextly, I finish my homework. The root verb for I finish my homework is finish. Last, you play very bad. The root verb for you play very bad sentence is play. Love, finish, and play are the root verbs. Nextly is third person singular present form. This form of verb represents the simple present tense. For example, Tom likes cats. The third person singular present form for Tom likes cats is likes. As far as regular verbs are concerned, the third person singular present singular form is indicated by adding the s or es at the end of the root verbs. For example, Tom likes cats. We added s after like. Like is the root verb for this sentence. Nextly is present participle form of verb. This is a form of verb that will be added ing by the end of the root verb, or the e will be changed by ing. For example, run, it becomes running. For write, the e will be changed ing. So write, the answer will be writing. This form of verbs is used to indicate continuous or progressive tenses to indicate the action is still ongoing. Simple past form of the verb is used to define something that has happened or has happened in the past. There are two types. One is the normal one, and the second one is the irregular one. For example, cheat will become cheated. Cut will stay the same. Cut. And the irregular sentence like meet will be changed to met. Nextly is past participle form of verb. The past participle form of verb is used to indicate the perfect tense. There are two types of past participle, same and different. For example, root verb, read, simple past tense is also read, past participle is also read. But the different kind is for the root verb, drink, simple past, drank, past participle, drunk. It changes from I to A to you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to Professor Kasdati and to my fellow classmates. My name is Yusuf bin Yusri, and I will be talking about parallelism. As we all know, parallelism is actually a parallel structure or parallel construction where similar words that are the same are being repeated or is being repetitive at the beginning or at the end of a structure sentence, a sentence of structure, a phrase, and a clause. And basically, the few examples that we can see is the idioms or proverbs such as no pain, no gain, easy come, easy go, and fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Basically, most of the repetitive words are at the beginning of the sentence. And now for further explanation, let's see the video that is going to be played right now.
In a math class, you may have learned about parallel lines. Parallel lines are equally distant, side by side, and aligned. In a literature or history class, you may have heard the term parallel when comparing similar situations or people. In that context, parallel means similar or analogous, as in, her leadership style parallels the prime minister's. In other words, their leadership styles are aligned. When we talk about parallelism in writing and grammar, we also mean alignment, this time in the syntax of a sentence. Parallel structure means that phrases that have similar weight should also have the same grammatical structure. In other words, if the phrases are being used similarly in your sentence, then they should have the same grammatical form. Sentences that lack parallel structure have what English teachers call faulty parallelism, and they can be confusing or awkward.
As you can see from the footage itself, it shows a very splendid explanation of what parallelism is, and also mention about faulty parallelism. Faulty parallelism is actually when someone wanted to create a parallel structure or parallel construction inside or in a sentence, but they forgot to use the correct grammatical structure and they break it anyways. And they didn't even mention about the types of parallelism inside the video. So there are six types of parallelism. The first one is anaphora, carrying back, where repetitive words are being used at the front of a sentence or at the beginning. As you can see, the example is that in time we will prevail, in time we will be victorious. So the words in time we will are being used repetitively at the beginning of the sentence. And for the next one is antithesis, is introduces two opposites for contrast. So basically the example is man disposes and God disposes. Shows a bit contrast inside the sentence. And the third one is accidenton, where it refers to the unconnected and uses deliberate omission of conjunctions in a series of related clauses or ideas. In other words, it doesn't use any coordinate conjunctions such as and or. So as you can see, the examples came from Julius Caesar or Julius Caesar himself, who used the words veni, vici, vici all the time. All right, the fourth one is the climax. So this is not the climax like the story, the usual story climax is the actually arranges parallel elements in order of increasing greatness or importance. So like for example, as all throws thy Joe's friends, fortune, and thyself. So this is one of William Shakespeare's works. And this fifth one is apostrophe or epiphora. So it's the opposite of anaphora, but has a bit same meaning, but actually the repetitive words begins at the end of the sentence. So the example is that I'm tired of this job, I'm over this job, I'm done with this job. So the word this job is actually being repeatedly at the end of the sentences. And lastly, we have simplos. So simplos is the combination of anaphora and apostrophe or epiphora. So the repetitive words are being used at the beginning and at the end of the sentence. So the example is the madman is not the man who lost his reason. The madman is the man who has lost everything except his reason. So the word the madman is being used repetitively at the beginning, and also the word his reason is also being used repetitively at the end of the sentence. And that is all from me. I will pass this to the next presenter.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Adam. So I will summarize what I understand from the referring expression. As we saw the video above, we know that referring expression have three categories, which is anaphoric, cataphoric, and esophoric. So for anaphoric, what I understand from anaphoric is, in a sentence, we must to say the object first, and in the second sentence, we must refer to the object that we said earlier, such as example here, my dad bought a new car. He took care of it full-heartedly. So the he here is referring to my dad, and it here is referring to his new car. So for the second category is cataphoric. What I understand in cataphoric is, we mention the subject first. After that, we mention what we referring to the subject. As example here, the book was on the table all along. I never read those Harry Potter sequels before. So, what the book I mentioned here is the Harry Potter book. Yeah. And for third one is esophoric. Esophoric, what I understand from esophoric is, we mention about the people outside of our conversation, just like the example, they are late again, can you believe it? I know, well, they better get here soon or it'll get cold. So we don't know what is referring to it here. We just mentioned they are. So they are is the third person here, and it get cold might be the food or the drink of their drink. Yeah, that's what I understand from referring expression.
Another cohesive device is known as repetition and lexical chains. Repetition of words can create the same sort of chain as pronoun. So they are just like pronoun. And there are some good reasons for preferring it. In Britain, mother tongue learners of English are discouraged from using repetitions on the ground that it is bad styles, and encouraged to use the device known as elegant repetition. Now, what is elegant repetition? You have to use a synonym for it for a word, but don't repeat the same word again and again, because it looks awkward to use the same word again and again. So therefore, it's better to use elegant repetition. You have to repeat the same idea but in different words, most probably in synonym. Where synonyms are more general words or phrases are used, so instead of writing.
Lexical chains. One way to create coherence and cohesion is through lexical chains. These are groups of words that all relate to a similar topic. For example, these words and phrases all relate to the topic of health, nutrition, diet, exercise, sufficient sleep, a balanced lifestyle, vitamins.
Now, I will talk about repetition and lexical chains. And now we'll start with repetition first. So what is repetition? Repetition is a literary device that involves intentionally using a word or phrase for a fact 2 or more times in a speech or written work. So basically, repetition is when you use a word for a multiple of times in your speech or written work. For example, the phrase sorry not sorry. Now, there's a repetition for the word sorry there. For the second examples, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth. In this example, there is a repetition for the word the people. Now, if you pay attention in my video, you might as well found the word elegant repetition. So what exactly elegant repetition? Now, elegant repetition is when you use a word, but instead of keep using the same form of that word, you change the form, but you keep the meaning the same. So, for example, I give you the word the pineapple. So, instead of using the word the pineapple for a multiple of times in your speech or written work, you can also use different word that still relate to the pineapple. By any means, you didn't change the meaning, but instead you change the form. For example, instead of using the pineapple every single time, you can also use the luxurious fruit, the luxury, the tropical luxury, or if you are eating the pineapple together, with any kind of people, you can also use our meal. So you can see that I changed the form of the word, but I didn't change the meaning. You can still relate those words with the word pineapple. Now, for lexical chains refer to a series of related words or phrases that are linked together in a text, forming a chain-like structure. Now, for me to explain lexical chains to you, I need to tell you guys the difference between repetition and lexical chains. Now, as I said before, repetition is when you use a word for a multiple of times in a speech or written work by keeping the form and the meaning the same. For lexical chains, you are basically using a groups of words that all relate to a similar topic, right? You are using a different word, different form, different meaning, but all of those words relate to each other. For example, I give you the Olympic Games are a famous sporting event. Thousands of athletes from different countries participate. Now, there's a theme or a topic here. The topic or the theme in this example is the Olympic Games. So, the lexical chains for the Olympic Games is sporting event, athletes, different countries. These words might be different, different meaning, different form, but it still relates to each other. We got Olympic Games, there's also sporting events, athletes, different countries. So you can basically understand that lexical chains is when you use a group of words with different meanings, but it all relate to each other. All right?
Substitution in English grammar, we replace a word that we previously used with another word. Common words to do this are do, does, one, once, here, there, that, so, and then. Some can place single words and phrases, while others may replace clauses. Here are some examples. With the underlined word replaced by the word in red. A new theme park has opened near, but I've never been there. I really love your biscuits. Can I have another one? I don't think you should go to meet her, but that is your decision.
Hi everyone, my name is Najla Maisara binti Dola and I'll be talking about substitution. Moving on with me, substitution is the replacement of a word or phrase with a filler word such as one, so, or do in order to avoid repetition in a sentence. In substitution, there are two expressions which are A and B in the text. A could be repeated as in A and A, but we replaced it with substitute word or phrase which we labeled as B, just like the example I showed below.
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to Dr. Kazriati and my fellow classmates. My name is Muhammad Lokman Hakim and my metric number is A205416. I'm going to present ellipsis. Ellipsis is a punctuation mark of three dots used to indicate a pause or omission in a sentence. It is used to create suspense, show incomplete thoughts, or represent trailing offs in a speech. It can be used in formal and informal writing. Here's a short YouTube video.
I'm going to talk about the ellipsis. You know, it's those 3 consecutive periods or dots you often see in stories, emails, and text messages. The ellipsis is an actual punctuation mark used in both formal and informal styles of writing. An ellipsis shows that something in the text, like a word, phrase, line, or paragraph, has been omitted. Ellipses save space or remove material that is less relevant. An ellipsis is 3 periods with a space in between each.
Based on that short YouTube video, we can understand that ellipsis is a punctuation mark consisting of 3 dots found on stories, emails, and text messages. Ellipsis can save space and remove any irrelevant information. Ellipsis can be used in formal and informal writing. Here are the examples usage of ellipsis in formal writing. Ellipses can be used to indicate omitted words from a direct quotation. This is common in academic and formal writing when quoting a source, but not including the entire passage. For example, quote, "The author argues that." The economic conditions of the time played a significant role. End quote. Next, ellipses can be used to indicate a pause for emphasis or to gather some thoughts. For example, in conclusion, our commitment to sustainability remains unwavering. Next, here are the example usage of ellipses in informal writing. Ellipses can represent a hesitation in thought to add tones in conversation. For example, I was going to tell you, but then I thought, never mind. Next, ellipses can be used to show hesitation. For example, I was thinking about, you know, going to the beach this weekend. That is all for me for now. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Now we move to conjunction. Definition of conjunction is used to combine two or more objects, phrases or clauses. Next, it can also be termed as connectors as they are employed in sentences to make connections. Conjunction normally be found in the later part of a sentence if they are used to connect clauses. They can appear in the beginning, middle or end of the sentence according to the position of the objects or phrases. Conjunction also defined as a word such as and, but, why, or although that connects words, phrases, and clauses in a sentence. A conjunction is any word or group of words other than a relative pronoun that connects words, phrases, and clauses. There is an example for conjunction. First, Shruti and I visited Gokarna last weekend. And is a conjunction for the sentence. Do you have a rough notebook or at least a rough sheet of a paper? Or is a conjunction for the sentence. I did not go to work today because I was not keeping well. Because is the conjunction for the sentence. She did not like the food, yet she ate it. So, yet is the conjunction for the sentence. I'll be leaving tomorrow, so I'm trying to finish all the pending assignments. So is the conjunction for the sentence. There are three types of conjunction. First is coordinating, second is subordinating, and third is correlative. Let's watch the next video for more information about types of conjunction.
Conjunction. A conjunction is a word that connects words, phrases, or clauses within a sentence. Helps to establish relationships between the connected elements. Example for conjunction: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Types of conjunction: coordinating conjunction, subordinating conjunction, and correlative conjunction. Coordinating conjunction. A coordinating conjunction connects words, phrases, or clauses of equal importance within a sentence. Example for coordinating conjunction: and, but, or, for, yet, so. Example: do you like coffee or tea? Or is the coordinating conjunction found in the sentence. Subordinating conjunction. Subordinating conjunction connects a dependent clause to an independent clause within a sentence. Example for subordinating conjunction: because, although, if, after, unless. If you need help, let me know. If is a subordinating conjunction found in the sentence. Correlative conjunction. A correlative conjunction works in pairs to connect elements of equal importance. Example for correlative conjunction: either or, neither nor, whether or, such that. Example: you can either study or go to play.
Hello, and we meet again. So today I am going to explain what is pragmatics. So pragmatics is actually the study of how language is used and what is the effect and within the context of a language. Sometimes the language itself, it means the sentence, certain sentences doesn't mean the same thing. Sometimes even though we use the same sentence every day, it will mean in a different way if you use in a different context. There are four types of context. So there will be physical context, linguistics context, social context, and epistemic context. But before we went to what are the type of contexts there are actually, let's watch this video on the explanation of pragmatics.
Now, a pragmatic perspective is really essential because pragmatics answers the question, why? It's not just a matter doing language, you see, is it? Of saying, oh, this happens and that happens and that happens. Look, he's using that particular word or she's using that particular grammatical construction. The question is, why are they using it in this way? And that's what pragmatics does. If you want a definition of pragmatics, it's the study of the choices you make when you use language, the reasons for those choices, and the effects that those choices convey. So when you're studying a piece of language and you say, oh, look, that person has used a lot of passive constructions, or that person has done such and such, always ask the question, why did they do it? And when you're asking the question why, you're basically saying, why did they do it that way rather than that way? You see, there's always the choice. If you use a passive construction and say something like, the cat was chased by the mouse, well, then you didn't say the cat chased the mouse or the mouse chased the cat. Whichever way you're doing it, you use the passive. Why did you do it that way? And the answer will always be to do with something about the context, something about the meaning you had in mind, something about emphasizing one aspect of the sentence rather than the other.
The video was very simple and actually asked us more on the how and why, and mostly why. The question is why, because we always wonder on why certain people we use the same sentences, but they always different in a meaning way because the context of the sentence itself is different. So there are four types of contexts in for pragmatics. The first one is physical context. It shows about the time and place, including the objects that surrounds the communication itself. So, for example, is that I want that cake. So that person or I, the subject, want that cake, that specific cake. And also the other example is that be here at 9 tonight. So it's also mentioned the speaker is telling the listener to be here or at this place at 9, specifically at 9 tonight, which means at 9 p.m. The second context is linguistics. So linguistics also means that what has been said before in the conversation. So it shows that Linda came home late yesterday. She thought nobody would notice. It means that she has already been told by her mother or by her parents or any or the elderly told her that she must not come home late. But instead, she did came home late and she thought nobody would notice. But instead, it shows that okay, that some people noticed that she did came home last night. The third context, the social context. So it shows the relationship of the people involved in communications. It shows like there's a between the speaker and a listener. So the example is, Mr. President, please enjoy your meal, which means that the speaker is actually speaking or communicating to the listener, which is the Mr. President itself. And the fourth and last context is epistemic context, which shows a background knowledge shared by both speaker and listeners, meaning that the knowledge the listener and the speaker has is the same, which means it's like a common knowledge for them. So even if they don't speak, they actually know about it. So for an example, the sentence is, bro, BTS is the #1 K-pop group in South Korea. So everybody knows about the boy band K-pop group BTS, Bangtan. So everybody knows, such as millennials, Gen Z, youths, knows that BTS is the #1 K-pop group in South Korea, most respected one. So even if they don't have the conversation, they actually know that BTS is in fact the #1 K-pop group. And that is all from me. I will pass this to the next presenter.
Grammar. Semantics and pragmatics deal with meaning. Semantics is the study of meaning in language. Pragmatics considers the meaning in social contexts and the ways people produce and comprehend meanings through language, or what people mean by the language they use. Note that semantics is context-free. On the other hand, pragmatics is context-dependent. Let's check the following two examples. Example 1, Peter says, "Coming down to the pub tonight?" Bill says, "I've got to finish a piece of work." The semantic meaning is, Bill's reply just informs Peter he has a piece of work to finish. The pragmatic meaning is, Bill's reply will normally be taken to indicate that he is not free to go to the pub, even though he does not actually say that. Example 2, there's a new Korean restaurant on Voti South Street. The semantic meaning is, the speaker simply informs the hearer of the new Korean restaurant on Voti South Street. The pragmatic meaning is, the speaker suggests trying that new restaurant. In other words, we can say semantic meaning is the sentence meaning, or word meaning. It is what a sentence, or a word, means, or what it counts as the equivalent in the language concerned. Pragmatic meaning is the speaker meaning. It is what a speaker means, or intends to convey, when he uses a piece of language.
So, what's the difference between semantics and pragmatics? As we know, we have already learned about semantics before in our previous class. Semantic is the study of some words and their literal meanings in particular sentence, which means in a given sentence, we must know about the meaning of each word in that sentence, as the literal meanings of the word. So, as example here, I'm so hungry. I could even eat a horse right now. You guys might perceive that I will eat a horse, but that's not my real intention. Here I would say that I'm really hungry. Like I could even eat a horse. Like it was like an idiom. But in semantics, we take the literal meaning. So it might be that I would eat a horse. Do you guys get what I mean? It's different in pragmatic. In pragmatics, we are study of the word and their meaning also, but we take the real context of it, like looks, and we take the intended meaning of the word. So here, like the same example, I'm so hungry I could even eat a horse right now. My intention is not like I will eat a horse, but I want to say that I'm really extra hungry. I'm really super hungry. I'm really super hungry. Just like I could even eat a horse right now. So it's like an idiom, or what we call a metaphor for pragmatic. So yeah, that's the difference between semantic and pragmatic.
Hello, it's me again, and I'm going to present Grice's maxim. Grice's maxims are a set of conversational principles that were proposed by the philosopher H.P. Grice in his paper Logic and Conversation, 1975. These maxims are intended to guide effective communication and understanding in discourse. Here's a short YouTube video.
So first, the maxim of quantity. Give as much information as required and no more, which is what we're talking about with vegan tomatoes. We already know they're vegan from the word tomato. Giving too much information is strange. Next, the maxim of quality. Tell the truth. Next, there's the maxim of relation. Be relevant. The person you're talking to will assume that what you're saying is related to what they just said in some way, and they'll try to find what that connection is. And finally, the maxim of manner. Be clear in what you're saying.
From that short YouTube video, we can understand that there are four maxims: maxim of quantity, maxim of quality, maxim of relation, and maxim of manner. Maximum of quantity means that one must be informative as needed. Maxim of quality means that one must tell the truth. Maxim of relation means that one must stay relevant, and maxim of manner means that one must express themselves clearly. Here are the examples of the usage of maxims. I will use violations of maxims as an example. Maxim of quantity examples. Violation: speaker provides too little information. Person A: how was your day? Person B: good. Next, violation: speaker provides too much information. Person A: how was your day? Person B: well, I woke up at 7 a.m., had a shower, had a breakfast, checked my emails, went to work, attended meetings, etc. etc. Next is maximum of quality examples. Violation: speaker provides false information. Person A, did you eat the last cookie? Person B, no, I didn't. Even though person B actually did eat the last cookie. Next, violation, speaker withholds information. Person A, did you see my keys? Person B, no, he knows where the key is, but he still answered, I haven't seen them. Next is maxim of relation examples. Violation, speaker goes off topic. Person A, what do you think about the new project? Person B, did you know I got a promotion last month? Finally, maxim of manner examples. Violation, speaker is overly verbose. Person A, can you explain this concept to me? Person B, well, you see, it's kind of like, well, you know, when you have this thing and yeah, it's like that. That is all from me. Thank you.
Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, Platform of Learning Linguistics. Today we're gonna talk about the difference between flouting and violation of a maxim. First we will discuss about flouting and then we will move towards violation of a maxim. Flouting happens when a speaker fails in observing the maxim but expecting the hearer to recognize the implied or intended meaning. It is not a deliberate breaking of a maxim. It is a kind of implicature. If we flout a maxim, we break it in a flagrant or obvious way so that it is obvious to all concerned that it has been broken. If this happens, then it is clear that the speaker is intending the hearer to infer some extra meaning over and above what is said. For example, if A says, have you finished your report? B answers or replies, it's on your desk. Here we can see that B flouts the maxim of relevance as the answer or reply should be, yes, I have finished my report. But A can understand and infer what the sender says and what he intends to say. So this kind of breaking of a maxim is called flouting a maxim. Now let's discuss the violating a maxim or violation of a maxim. Violation of a maxim happens in order to deceive the hearer with letting the hearer only knows the surface meaning of an utterance. It is a deliberate breaking of a maxim. It is said in a straightforward way rather than using any kind of implicature. For instance, Mom asks her son, who has been playing all day long, that have you studied all day long, or did you study all day long? The son replies, yes, I have been studying till now. Here you can see that the son is telling a lie, and this kind of breaking of a maxim is called violation of a maxim. In the last, it is important to note that when we flout a maxim, we say something indirectly or we use implicature, okay? And when we violate a maxim, we want to deceive or to tell a lie. So there is the main difference between flouting and violation. I hope you have understood the difference, and in the last I will make a request to please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon in order to receive the notifications of the next videos as well.
Okay, so now let's talk about conversational implicature. So conversational implicature in context is context that is implied by the speaker in an utterance but does not contribute to direct content of the utterance, as well as not encoded by the linguistic meaning of what has been uttered. Sometimes our utterance often conveys information that goes above and beyond what we actually mean to say. As per H.P. Grice, it can simply be described as meaning one thing but saying another. And people make implicatures where they violate one or more maxims blatantly. By drawing a line between what is said and what is conversationally implicated, Grice showed how we can differentiate between context closely related to the conventional meaning of the words uttered and context that is holding a different meaning compared to the words uttered. Let's look at some examples. Example 1. A. Let's go eat lunch. B said, I'm already full from breakfast. B committed an implicature, meaning that B did not directly answer A's question, but at the same time, A understand that B doesn't want to go to lunch because B is already full. In example 2, A said the test was difficult, and B answered, my parents going to kill me. Again, B didn't exactly answer A's question, but it is enough to say, it is enough for A to understand that B did not do well in the test. And finally, the last example, A asked, do you have any snacks? And B said, Adam just ate some Oreos just now, implicating that yes, B doesn't have any snacks, but Adam does have some Oreos if he wants some. So he should just ask Adam. Next, we are going to talk about flouting and violating maxim. But before we do that, we first have to take a recap, about what is actually a maxim. So, a maxim is any of the 4 rules which were proposed by H.P. Grice in 1975, stating that the speaker is assumed to make a contribution that 1. Is adequately but not overly informative, which is quality maxim. 2. The speaker does not believe to be false, and for which adequate evidence is had, which is quality maxim. Number 3 is relevant, which falls under maxim of relation or relevance. And lastly, number 4 is clear, unambiguous, brief, and orderly, which falls in maxim of manner. So now we are going into floating. So, floating a maxim can occur when a cooperative speaker can intentionally disobey a maxim as long as the context provides enough indicators for the hearer to notice it. Floating can be used to convey information sarcastically, ironically, or to avoid third parties to hear and understand a certain phrase. For example, in example 1, what an amazing football player Razik is. Now this can either be a positive comment or a negative comment. For a positive comment, the speaker might just simply complimenting Razik's footballing capabilities. But for negative comments, let's say he said that right after Razik missed an open goal. So he's just like mocking his ability but saying it in a nice way. Alright. So in example 2, Venash is a conversation between Venash and Najla. So Venash said, I went back to Taiping for my mid-semester break. To that Najla replied, Taiping Perak? She asked. And then Venash said, no, Taiping Sabah. Now, this is also considered floating because they both know there's no such place called Taiping in Sabah. Therefore, Najla can understand that Venash is being sarcastic in this conversation. Now that we're done with floating, let's move on to violating. So, according to Grice, a violation occurs when speakers intentionally refrain from applying certain maxims in their conversation, causing misunderstanding in the discourse. When a maxim is violated in the conversation, it causes the conversation to deviate in context which in turn would cause discourse participants have the intuition that the person who violated the maxim is being uncooperative. For example, in the first example is a conversation between a mother and a son who failed his exams. So, the mother asked, "Did you do well in your exams?" And the son who failed his exams, "Yes, I got 2 A's." Now, the son violates maxim of quality by lying to his mother in order to receive a more pleasant response. And in example 2, the teacher asked, "Why didn't you do your homework?" And the student said, "May I use the toilet? I have a stomachache." The student's answer is not at all relevant to the teacher's question, and which means the student is trying to evade the teacher's interrogation about his homework or their homework. Okay, now that we know what is floating a maxim and what is violating a maxim, we should also see the difference between floating and violating the maxim so that we can differentiate between the two. So, the overall meaning behind the conversation is preserved when the speaker is floating a maxim, whereas all meaning is lost if a speaker violates a maxim. This would make the hearer lose understanding regarding the conversation. If you float a maxim, the conversation is still understandable. The first person can understand, and the second person can also understand, because it's not something so jarring. If you violate a maxim, the meaning behind all of the conversation has been lost. Like, you can still understand sarcasm, but you can't just understand something that does not belong in a conversation. So that's what floating and violating maxim means. Floating, you can still understand it even if there's sarcasm or irony in the conversation, but violating, you just cannot understand it. Alright, so yeah, that is all for me. Thank you.
First off, what is direct speech act?
An utterance is seen as a direct speech act when there is a direct relationship between the structure and the communicative function of the utterance.
Searle stated that an indirect speech is one that is performed by means of another. That means there is an indirect relationship between the form and the function of the utterance.
Sum it all up, an utterance is considered a direct speech act when the intended meaning of the speaker was given direct to the point, and if the structure and function are directly related. The utterance will then be considered an indirect speech when the intended meaning that the speaker wants to convey has to be analyzed by the listener, and the structure and function is not related.
In speech act, there is also direct and indirect speech act. I'm going to start with direct speech act first. So what is direct speech act? Direct speech act is when the type of sentence matches the function of the speech act. By any means, the structure and the function is directly related. For example, a declarative is used to make a statement, "We have to practice social distancing." The statement is very clear, and you can basically see the intentions of the speaker by the speech. So that is direct. For the second examples, an interrogative is used to ask the questions, "Where is the bathroom?" Same as the first examples. The questions is very direct, and when you use these direct questions, you will also get a direct answer, which is where exactly is the bathroom. For example, like at the hallway, at the end of the hallway. So that is a direct answer as well. So for the third examples, we have an imperative is used to make a command, "Stop the car." This command is very direct. You can actually see or understand that the speaker want the car to stop or command the car to stop. So that is direct speech act. Moving on to indirect. So indirect speech act is when the type of sentence does not match the function of the speech act. So, if direct speech act is when the structure and functions directly related, Indirect is the opposite of it. So indirect is when the structure and the function is not related at all. For examples I give you, an interrogative is used to make a request. Could you lower the volume? This is the way, an indirect way of saying the volume is too loud. Lower it. You can actually understand that this is indirect is when the intentions of the issuer is not clearly expressed. I'll give you another examples. An interrogative is used to make a statement. Can't you see I'm busy? This is an indirect way of saying that I'm busy. Do not disturb. So the last example is a declarative is used to make a request or command. The clothes will not hang themselves. This is an indirect way of saying or command the listener or someone that someone should hang the clothes. So you can see that indirect speech act is when the meaning has to be analyzed by the listener themselves. All right?
Locution. Locution is a particular form of expression, a word phrase, expression, or idiom, especially used by a particular person. For example, a warning. I warn you to stop calling me. It consists of a warning that shows an express locutionary that needed someone to stop calling a person. Nextly is elocution. It is saying something with the intention of stating an opinion, confirming or denying something. For example, making a prediction, a promise, and a request. Issuing an order or a decision, giving a permission or an advice. For example, I think you should stop overthinking because it is affecting your mental health. This shows that it is an intention to advise someone so that they don't overthink a lot. Perlocution. Perlocutionary act is a speech act that produces an effect, intended or not, achieved in an addresses by a speaker's utterance. For example, persuading, convincing, or scaring.
Commissive includes acts in which the words commit the speaker to future action, such as promising, offering, threatening, refusing, vowing, and volunteering. For example, I'll be back. We will not do that. Declarations are kinds of speech act with words that change the world by their very utterance, such as I bet, I declare, I resign. For example, a priest saying, I now pronounce you husband and wife. A judge saying, I sentence you to 6 months in prison.
Commissives are used to commit the speaker to a certain course of action. In other words, commissives are a way for the speaker to make sure that they will do or not do something in the future. Some examples include promise, vow, refusal, pledge, and offer. While declaratives are used when someone wants to express affect, give some information, or simply just explain something. It can be written in the past, present, or future tense.
Directives are acts that are aimed at making the hearer do something, such as commanding, requesting, inviting, forbidding, suggesting. For example, could you lend me a pen, please? Don't touch that. Expressive speech act is used to express the psychological state and sincerity condition about a state of affair specified in the propositional content, such as welcoming, praising, blaming, etc. For example, I'm really sorry. Congratulations.
Now, let me explain to you on directives based on the video we have watched. Directives are speech act verbs aiming to prompt action from listeners. They include commands, requests, invitations, prohibition, and suggestions, intending to influence behavior. As you can see below, there are some examples mentioned from the video as well, such as close the door please, which is a command, could you please pass the salt, which is a request, join us for dinner, which is an invitation, do not enter without permission, which is a prohibition, and also let's try the new restaurant down the street, which is a suggestion. As for expressive,
It is a speech act which conveys genuine emotions or attitudes about specific situations. They include apologizing, congratulating, and expressing emotions like joy, sorrow, or blame. Some of the examples are "I'm truly sorry" and "Congratulations on your achievement." These speech acts express sincere emotions or attitudes related to the discussed situation. They serve to convey genuine feelings, enriching communication by expressing sincerity, empathy, or celebration on social interactions.
Next, I would like to talk about representative and presupposition. The definition of representative. The term representative typically refers to a category of speech arts known as representative or constitutive. These speech arts are characterized by the speaker's intention to convey information about the word, describe a state of affairs, or make assertions. Representative are concerned with the relationship between language and reality, emphasizing the truth or accuracy of the expressed content. Representative is a type of speech art in pragmatics. The purpose of representative is it involves the speakers conveying information, making assertions, or describing a state of affairs. The true value orientation of representative is the speaker's intent for the preposition expressed to be perceived as true or false. The concern with reality of representative is representative emphasizes the relationship between language and the external world. The factual content for representative is typically involve statements that convey objective information, report facts, or express beliefs. And next, the available for representative if the truth value of the statement is crucial in understanding the speaker's communicative intent. Representative also contribute to the shared understanding of the word truth, the communication of information. For example, first, the meeting starts at 10 a.m. Second, it's raining outside. Third, the sun rises in the east. Next, I would like to talk about the definition of presupposition. Presupposition an assumed to be true fact upon which an utterance is delivered. Next, presupposition refers to an implicit assumption or belief that is taken for granted for presumed to be true by the speaker, that is embedded within the structure of a sentence or utterance. Lastly, presupposition closely related to the concept of speech arts as they involve the speaker's communicative intent and the background assumption that underlie the of communication. Presupposition involves implicit assumption or background beliefs that are not explicitly stated but are assumed to be shared or accepted by the speakers and the listener. Presuppositions are not typically evaluated in terms of true or falsity. Instead, they operate based on the assumption that background information is already accepted. Presuppositions are often embedded in the linguistic structure of sentences or utterance. Certain linguistic elements such as specific word, phrases, or grammatical construction can trigger presuppositions. Presuppositions are sensitive to the context of the conversation, and the interpretation of a sentence may be changed based on the shared knowledge between the speaker and the listener. The example trigger for presupposition is common triggers of presupposition include verbs like stop, regret, or again. For example, first, John stopped smoking. Presupposition that John used to smoke. Mary regrets selling her cat. Presupposition that Mary sold her cat.